You guys might notice it's not me in this video. This is actually Rue Newman, who works with us at Stiltbeast Studios, and he is the one doing the work on this project, and I have brought him in for the commentary to tell you what the heck he's doing.
Hi guys, I'm Rue. Right now I'm working on this gorilla head, and I'm using some hot wire to sculpt this styrofoam into blocks approximately the size that I'm going to want this head to be.
How'd you figure that out?
I actually took a grid and put it over a printout that we had and estimated the sizes and took measurements that way. I always make sure to use a sharp knife when you're carving foam. It is incredibly quickly how fast you go through. Your knife is no longer sharp. I'm using a whole combination of different tools here between knives, rasps, hot wire knives, hot knives themselves.
Was that a curry comb you were just using?
It was a curry comb.
Yeah.
That
those things are great.
Yeah, you can shave off a lot of material very quickly that way. Just getting the mouth shaped out right now.
If you look bottom right, you can see the reference that he should be referencing every now and then.
And obviously everything you do turns out way better if you use a reference.
Now see, I would have done the teeth afterwards in like epoxy putty.
See, I ended up not even actually using these teeth that I sculpted out here. I started off trying to sculpt them out of the styrofoam, and I was going to do the entire thing of styrofoam, but I ended up changing my mind at some point and doing a sculpt and using some combinations of things that we already had on hand to make some better teeth.
And we were making this, we needed this made because this was in our D&D campaign on Sword Beast Studios, where they fought this giant gorilla and brought his head back for the Mythical Monster Museum at Scarborough. So everything that they fought, they had to bring back something so that we could put it in the museum. And then we make those displays, and it was really cool to let us make a bunch of new stuff. What's that weird thing on top of his head?
That is actually the top of his head actually comes to a pretty high crest. And it just gives me a better visual reference to have that there from the beginning. And here I start to fill it in a little bit so that I can have some more material to work with and everything get tied together quite a bit better using some Loctite foam.
And there's going to be a cut here where it jumps and you see this stuff puff up. And that means 10 minutes have passed. In editing, I pulled that out. So watch it. Poof. See a little poof right there? 10 minutes passed. And now that stuff is workable. And you can sculpt it and make it do what you want.
Yeah, it looks like I just keep going there. I do not. Trust me. If you try that, you end up with it covering everything and it's real hard to get off.
While editing this, I learned exactly how many breaks Rue takes while making stuff. This is the next day. Obviously, you changed your shirt.
Yep. Changed my shirt a little bit. Next day working on this.
What do you think your whole sculpting time was?
Whole sculpting on time on this, probably about 4 hours.
Okay.
Of actual sitting on it and working, sculpting constantly. I'm also managing everyone else's projects in the back too at the same time as this, so there's a bit of that in between.
And I think I ended up speeding this up about 16 times. So
yeah, checking the reference.
Yeah, it's hard to see the detail in it, but with it being so white. But now that you're putting in some depth, I can see the shadows start to show up, and that's what really, whenever you're sculpting anything, you're sculpting with light and shadow. How does the light react to this? And that makes the shadow land somewhere. That's the sculpture.
Saw me using some sanding blocks there for a minute also, which a lot of people don't realize that you can actually use full-blown sandpaper on styrofoam, and it gives you a really nice smooth texture.
You sprayed it with water.
Yep.
And we're going to sit 10 minutes.
10 minutes have elapsed. I'm back and working that Loctite foam back into the shapes that I need it to be. You'll notice occasionally here too is that I'll overcorrect in one direction or the other and have to come back in and fix it. That's all just part of the sculpting process sometimes. I got some eye forms in there now so that I can just have a better reference of what I'm looking at. Here we took the whole bottom jaw off so that I could get a different angle on it. I didn't like the way it was sitting.
Lets you make the mouth bigger too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're doing both subtractive by taking away and additive sculpting by adding on. You can get really good results that way.
Yeah, I opened up the mouth quite a bit right there.
Do you remember what you used for eye forms?
I used glass cabochons that I just tucked up in there and just pressed them into the foam a little bit so that they'd hold in place.
And you print the irises out on paper and you glue them to the back of the cabochons.
Yes, these were already actually pre-glued and printed, but that is how we do it most of the time. Still trying to work those teeth that I haven't quite yet decided that I'm not using at this point.
You haven't given up on them yet. Part of the editing process, though, you end up, sometimes you'll work on something and then you'll ball it up and take it off and start over. Right now it looks like a really angry Humpty Dumpty. Okay, what are you mixing there?
I'm mixing epoxy putty that I'm going to be putting on there. This is actually freeform air that I'm pressing in here, and
From Smooth On.
From Smooth On, it is freeform air, and I think shortly here I decide I don't like it.
Well, it's from Smooth On. It's an AB clay material. It's kind of like sculpting with dough or kinetic sand. It's not the easiest to sculpt with.
No, I was definitely having a hard time with it. I know there are some people out there that love to use it, and I start off using it here, and I think I end up switching to the Habitat.
Freeform Habitat Black, also from Reynolds.
Yep.
Which is, again, it's an AB putty. Now, I know that Rue forgot to film that part, so he's going to jump and have some black stuff on his face. That is more epoxy clay, freeform Habitat Black from Reynolds.
Coming up here very shortly. This is where that's where I decided the teeth had to come out, and that I was going to use the other ones.
And what teeth were you going to use?
That we had the leftover teeth from a lion that we had done, that we'd built the resin plate. You just saw it a second ago, actually, me walk up and put it next to the thing. However, those cat teeth do not fit in this mouth appropriately, so I had to do some modification on them that I actually ended up cutting the teeth off of the bottom, the canines off the bottom teeth and moving them out wider and splitting the top palate in half completely so I could make that wider to fit the mouth also.
And Rue uses both types of clays. They're not interchangeable, but they do kind of do the same thing. So there's no issue with having both types on the same project.
This is where I'm getting the fit of those resin teeth plates in and seeing where they sit, and if I like or hate the way they line up.
You're like a white gorilla dentist.
Bug over there giving us a second opinion.
And that's a hot knife you're using now to take away inside?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a nice, super hot knife that just carves through that styrofoam really well.
And make sure you're wearing a respirator whenever you're using heat and foam together.
What you can't tell here is that the back door is wide open right next to me here also. So all of this is actually going right out the door. I actually have pretty good ventilation right now.
I don't see any smoke headed towards you. That's the Freeform Habitat Black. That clay is much darker, and he did some work and didn't film it. So I will smack him for you. There you go. But it's sculpting with clay as opposed to sculpting with styrofoam. And styrofoam sculpting has gotten a lot easier since Loctite, so because we can add on to it and fix mistakes.
Yeah, you can add and fill gaps with it so easily that you end up with some really, really beautiful material to work with.
So that's a silicone tip sculpting tool?
Yep. Silicone tip sculpting tool so it doesn't stick to this epoxy putty clay near as much, because this stuff is pretty sticky. You'll notice I'm wearing gloves. Not something I'm super known for, so trying to keep, as I say that exactly as I take them off, trying to keep it off of my hands a little bit, because it really does grab a hold of everything.
And that putty has about an hour-long pot life. So you can sculpt it and work with it for about an hour, and then it gets too hard to use. That's what pot life means when you're talking about mixing chemicals.
Definitely nothing else. Still getting all those fine creases in, getting all the wrinkles in, getting everything smoothed up a bit. You can actually tell that the clay is getting a little bit harder now with its lightening up in color, and me adding a little bit more, having to use more water to get the smoother texture on the outside of it.
Is that pretty much the sculpt finished?
Yes, I believe that's pretty much done with the main sculpt. I'm doing some eyelids in here and
you're painting latex on the eyes.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that was.
Why are you doing that?
Putting latex on the eyes so that while I paint it right here, that I'm using latex paint over the top of it, then I can peel that off of those glass eyes and I don't have any overspray onto the eyes.
Like a barrier.
It's an easy way to mask off a section. Getting paint all into those nooks and crannies deep in there. So now I'm starting to get some white paint on the teeth themselves. And I actually added in two large rounded pumpkin teeth, not the typical pumpkin teeth, but the buck teeth pumpkin teeth up in the middle of that top plate when I did this also, in order to fill in a couple of teeth after I widened that mouth out a little bit. But getting the color in there,
It's rare our mouth is so big you can fit your hand in there while you're painting. That's nice.
Pretty great, actually. Getting that magenta color deep in everything in there right now. I like to put when I'm doing mouths, I like to do the magenta in the deepest sections on everything. It's a little backwards color-wise. So, and then I come in and I'll do some reds on top of it. Typically we go from dark to light, but just in mouth sections I change that up a little bit using the pink and reds. Here I'm starting to get these ears put onto this, and these are pre-made ears that were on a separate mask, and I put them on there and we primed them separately.
Look at how much life happens when you peel off that latex. It just pops. The eyes pop up.
Yep. His eyes appear out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he's got real attitude to him. I'm going in with the airbrush now, hitting all the highlights and hitting, putting in shadows and some shading of browns in there. At the moment, some browns around the teeth, give them a little age to those teeth.
What kind of airbrush do you use?
I use a Pache H single action airbrush almost exclusively. I absolutely love the way it works, and that I control how much I put out with just adjusting the actual air pressure itself instead of having to use a dual action system. I can just work way faster with the single action.
And they don't clog as much either.
Yeah, I like to work fast, and clogs irritate me. Now I'm going in with some shadows and adding shadow gray and all of the deep spots there. Adding all the shadow gray and details in here so that it gets real dark where the shadows are, and you're basically putting back the shadows that you've kind of taken out. Oh, I've started the herring process. That is when this thing really starts to turn into a magnificent beast. And some of these times I'm laying this hair down in sections and just kind of roughing it into shape, and you see me marking it with the marker right there of how much I have to take off. And I'm literally just using scrap fur that we had sitting around here, because hair will absolutely hide all your crimes, all the fur edges on everything. So I can use lots of different chunks to piece in here, and we can use many different pieces and use up a lot of that scrap material that we kind of just have sitting around the shop anyway.
Where did those latex ears come from?
Those ears actually came from an elf mask that we had in the back, and now this is supposed to be a magical creature and not necessarily a plain old regular gorilla. I liked the pointed ears from that and didn't want to go with the regular rounded gorilla ears.
Frazetta, in some of his ink drawings, he did pointed ears on big ape creatures, and I always loved that.
Yeah, I really liked the way it looks on this. It gives him just a little bit of a more magical touch.
Less human, a little more wild.
Mm-hmm.
And you just laid that, you're thinking about fur direction.
Yep.
But you laid it down, and you traced where those eyebrow ridges were.
Yep.
And now you're going back and cutting with the razor?
Yep. I just go back with the razor blade and cut it off, making sure not to cut all the way through the hair, because that'll leave a hard edge in the fur itself. So I gotta make sure to only go through the backing of the fabric while I do this, so that I don't end up with that hard edge. I can use that nice loose hair to blend away any seams that I might have. Now I only have that one little chunk there above the ear to fill in. Bring it in around the outside of it on both sides. Tried to work a little bit equally while doing this. But that's a gorilla build, so.
Yeah, this guy turned out really good. Need a giant gorilla head. You get to say it this time.
I get to say it. Go make stuff!
That's right. And thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. We appreciate you. We have more videos coming. This one was a fight to get the footage. It's about a month old, but more is coming. Thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. Go make stuff.
Go make stuff.